got going on, man? Like sometimes I think about some of the people that watch our show and watch us and listen to us, and like you're trying to put yourself in their mindset, right? Like they're a younger person, maybe they have some things. What are the things going on in their life? And I think you got a lot of good advice. So with that advice, have you thought of any goals for next year? Now I know you don't do your goals until your birthday, but have you thought about any goals? Your birthday happened. Have you thought about any goals for next year?
Man, hell yeah. So for me, that's just already in motion. So my next year is already happening. So hell yeah, big major stuff going on. Just with all the companies that I have, you know what I mean? But yeah, other than that, man, I think again, it just goes into that topic of just putting too much pressure on yourself and just trying to put everything on an X day of when I need to start something. The day you have your epiphany of you need to do something, that's the day it should fucking start. You know what I mean? So that's just how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, I'm a person who likes in November, I like to start thinking of my goals for next year. Even sometimes I'll even write them down. And then in December, I sit there and say, how am I going to get to that goal? So I can just start, in my brain, sitting there saying, I like yearly goals just for my frame of reference, my mentality of like, here's 2018, 19. That's why I like to do it that way. But I like to think of, okay, in December, we start thinking about what does the next year look like? And then we start sitting there saying, how are we going to get there? Now, on top of that, we're already out 5, 10, 15. So we're not really creating new ones. We're sitting there saying, okay, the vision's a little bit more clear. How do we define it a little bit better for me? And I have it over here where you can see 2018. You start seeing my goals from 2018. Some of that stuff was just to pay down a credit card, a couple grand. That's like, sometimes that's how small a goal has to be.
Yeah, dude. I'm with you on that. And I think people, when they think of goals, I think they have to be so magnificent as like just such a big scale, and they really don't. And actually, it's even better to have smaller goals just to get that confident in achievement, like done something realistic. I just think a lot of these kids, like nowadays, they just have unrealistic goals with not the worth ethic to match the goals, right? And then they don't have enough, I would have to say this, they don't have enough failures to accept the hard times, right? Because you're going to go through with business, you're going to go through with anything, you're going to go through this up and you're going to go through it down. That's just how it goes, right? But you got to have some thick skin, and you just can't just be thriving at the top and then crumble at the bottom, because you're not coming back up after that. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I mean, that's true, man. You start seeing some of these people's goals and you're like, that's a really good goal. How are you going to get there? And they be like, it's like, hey, man, you want to go to Mars? Great. How are you going to get there? But like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
great fucking goal, but with great manifestation with no action. No, there's no manifestation without action. You have to put action behind every fucking thing. You know what I mean? Or if not, somebody will take it from you and you can't complain.
Yeah. That's something I've been really getting, like really, at least in my own mind, when I'm talking about like, having this thing of like, how bad do you want it? It's like, I can care less if I tell you how bad I want it. I'll just tell you my schedule. And if my actions dictate that I'm going to be there, then that's how I know for a fact that I'm putting in the work. Right. And there's some things where you do something and you tell somebody, hey, I'm doing this, I'm working this. And they're like, damn. All right, cool. That's, that's a good line to let you know that you're working to your goal, because you can't see your vision. You can't see any of these things if you're putting the work on, right? Like, you have this idea, you have this concept, but what are you doing to make sure that vision becomes a reality? What are you doing to make sure that it becomes closer to your goal? Because we all know for a fact, anything you visioned, it will not happen the way you thought it will. Yep. It's not going to turn out the way it is. And you're going to have way more mistakes than you thought for in the mix.
It's never easy, and again, this is that whole thing of just giving up. If people just think this instant gratification, it's just not what it is. It literally is about the journey, right? And I'll tell you another one of my New Year's or whatever I've done when I was in my birthday. No new friends going in 2023. Straight the fuck up. You know what I mean? I got a solid foundation. I got my true friends and stuff like that, but I am not going in there with the intentions of making new friends. Like I'm just too busy for that. And I ain't got to explain to people how I move or how I move. Right. But also I don't want to get distracted because with friendship, sometimes they're just not friends. They're vampire fucking suckers. They're your energy fucking vampires. They just want to come get things from you. And right now I don't have time for that shit to see who's friend or foe. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, especially when you start having some of these friends, man, sometimes a friend has to understand because you're busy and the way you're moving, we're not going to talk.
Yeah.
Man. It don't mean shit. It ain't personal. Just, we got shit to do.
Yeah. I mean, I got my little brother, man. I love that motherfucker to death, you know? Shout out to Wave organization, you know? I love that motherfucker to death, but we do not talk a lot. You know, he used to complain about it like, oh man, we know, blah, 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 blah. You know, he's a complete opposite of me. He's like me, but the complete opposite, you know, more New Yorkish. That's where he's from, you know? So I would say this, but when we do talk or whatever, you know, it's just like nothing's like, it's like yesterday or something like that. He's always at my mom's. He sees my mom more than I fucking do. You know what I'm saying? So my kids or whatever go out there, but it's just that we still got that bond, even though I know he's busy running his organization because he has a nonprofit that's doing very well. Right. So he's super busy doing that. I'm over here doing this stuff. So he understands the process, you know, so it's good.